Let's talk about delta specifically. I'm going to give you the technical definition of delta, and then we're going to talk about it through metaphor. Delta is an option value's sensitivity to stock price. Like I said before, it's expressed as a delta, it's expressed as a decimal, and it's going to tell you how much your option should theoretically move for every dollar that the underlying moves. It is the expected change in an option's price up or down for every $1 move in the underlying. If you look at any option textbook, that's what it's going to say next to delta. Now, delta can be kind of subsetted into three big buckets. Deep in the money options, which approach the higher bound, the upper bound of delta. One option can only have up to 100 deltas. Because if you think about delta as a percentage change of that underlying $1 move, you can't have one option that's going to move more than 100% of the underlying move. So deep in the money options tend toward the 100 bound, the upper bound. At the money options, which are the options that are around where the stock is trading, generally have deltas of around 50. Again, this is expressed as a decimal, 0.50, or 1.00 for the 100 delta. And then the third bucket are these far out of the money options. These are options that are out of the money. They might be 3, 4, 5, 6 standard deviations away. They are going to tend toward the zero bound of delta. That's kind of how you can think about the three buckets of delta. And it's one way to think about the buckets of delta. But this is kind of how I subset it in my mind. Let's talk about delta through metaphor. We've covered this a little bit. I want you to imagine delta as like a speedometer for your options portfolio. When you look at an option, so you can look at this as an options portfolio. You can also look at it as an individual option. When you're looking at an individual option, just like the car speedometer tells you how fast you're going, delta is going to tell you essentially how fast that option is going. How much is that option going to move when the underlying moves? So if you think about it in that way, just like your car's speed can change, the delta of the option can change too. These are not things that are set in stone. Many times when we're talking to people on the investor education desk, they're somewhat surprised that the delta of an option can actually change, as if the delta of that option when you traded it is going to be the delta of that option forever. And that is not the case. I'm here to tell you that is not the case. Delta can move. It is dynamic just like anything else. But just like movement in a car going 100 miles an hour reacts differently than a car going 10 miles an hour, right? If you're going along and you're going 100 miles an hour and you turn the wheel, your car is going to react badly, right? If you're going 10 miles an hour and you turn the wheel the same amount, you're just pulling into a parking spot, right? It's not that big of a deal. Delta's the same way. Delta is a measure of how much that option's going to move when the underlying moves a buck. So keep that in mind. A 100 delta option is very different than a 10 delta option in that regard.